Hey everyone, another edition of Off the Top Rope here on the Off the Mic Sports Network. One of my favorite things to talk about, I'm kind of saying that tongue in cheek, is AEW. And admittedly, AEW had a you know semi good episode of television this week from Washington D.C. One thing I will point out, and I've been begging for this for about a year. AEW has got to go to smaller venues. There's nothing wrong with going to smaller venues. You see NXT is thriving in those type of things. TNA thrives in smaller venues. There's nothing wrong with admitting that, hey, going to 18,000 seat venues and only filling 3,000 seats is not a good look, and it's not a good idea, and it doesn't sound great. This sounded great. I texted a buddy of mine who I work with at my other job. He's a big wrestling fan. He was in the building in Washington, D.C. on Wednesday night, and he said the crowd was into it. It was very alive. It sounded like it. That was a big step up from a lot of these recent AEW shows where it just sounded like a fucking funeral. So that's the first thing. But then, okay, and then let's actually, let's start with the good here. Let's start with the good because, you guys know I'm going to have a field day a little bit with some of the bad stuff that happened on this show. Because there was a decent amount of bad stuff, but it wasn't like as, absurdly bad as it has been for most of the year. So Will Osprey and Darby Allin was fucking incredible. Like that was as good of a television match as I've seen this year. I mean, I would have liked to have seen a lot of less, absurd bumps from Darby Allin and, lack of selling. And then, Darby has the heroic beating of, he heroically beats Will Osprey, which is a big time win for him. And I've got some questions about the booking of Will Osprey recently. Now we're getting to the point of, is Will Osprey losing too much? But the match itself was outstanding. There was some counters to the Stormbreaker that I've never seen before. Darby, say what you will about Darby Allin in terms of like his daredevil mindset and his persona and what he does in the ring and doing all this stupid shit and going through glass and going through tables and doing a bunch of crazy bullshit and lighting people on fire. Darby Allin is a really good wrestler. He really is. From a chain wrestling perspective, this guy really gets it done. It's not just a bunch of flips. It's not just a bunch of flying around. It's not a bunch of crazy shit. He's really good. And so matching him with Will Osprey, when I saw this, I was like, okay, this could be really good. It could be really over the top and kind of just insane. But these two are a match made in heaven. It was proven right. It was a 5-star match. It was really, really good. Easily the best thing I saw on this show. Mercedes Moné, who I've been very critical of, had a really good match with Anna Jay. The problem is, where does Anna Jay go from here now? Anna Jay has lost to the Women's World Champion and the TBS Champion in a span of a month. What do you do with her now? She's lost clean as a whistle to both of them. Like, what do you do now? So, I love what they're doing with Toni Storm. This whole amnesia or she's playing a character thing, back in her rocker gimmick and now acting completely oblivious and going back in time to 2 years ago when she joined AEW, I think is awesome. The women's division desperately needs Toni Storm because it is dead. There is nothing going on in there. I like what Anna Jay's done, but at no point did I realistically think she was going to beat Mercedes Moné. You've got Chris Statlander in a weird, going immediately babyface. You've got Willow Nightingale. Jamie Hayter's facing off with Julia Hart. But a lot of this stuff, there's not a lot of reason. Like, these are talented women, and this is a very talented division, but there's not a lot of reason for me to care just as a whole in this division because there's no story to any of these women involved. And then your biggest key point, like Mercedes, I've made no secrets. It's been a massive bust this year. The buzz around her is way off from where it was 9 months ago. It hasn't worked out, and she's just beating people, and that's not helping the women's division. And I think she's kind of, just cashed a paycheck and is kind of like, become everything that she didn't want to be. She's basically become like the big fish in a small pond. That's really what she's become. She's become a Charlotte Flair, and what she hated and what she was trying to get away from in WWE. That's, I think, one of my big areas of critique that I've had. And what's made it so frustrating is I love Mercedes. I think she's one of the best wrestlers from bell to bell in the women's division maybe I've ever seen. But it's really dissatisfying to just see what she's kind of become in AEW. So that's the first thing. And then you've got Mariah May, who admittedly, I'm very happy to see that she won the women's championship. Her story arc, and her, at least from a story perspective, one of the best women's division stories AEW's ever done. Really, with her and Toni Storm. But since she won that championship, it has been a hot pile of dog shit. And the worst offense that you could possibly do is have her character bury the women's division, which is what she has done in the build to, well, in the build to her match with Mina Shirakawa, and now she's going to face Thunder Rosa, and then clearly this is leading to another match with Toni Storm. But the verbiage and the dialogue that has been used by Mariah May in the last several weeks has really pissed me off, because you're having your top women's star basically saying that the women's division sucks because Thunder Rosa brought in a sign and basically said the women's division is live and well. And Mariah pretty much just buries that. She basically says, hey, Thunder Rosa, if I was here 4 years ago, you wouldn't have been hired. It's like, I understand at some level it's a character, but there are so many better ways to be a heel rather than just burying your division. Somebody on social media sent this to me when I tweeted this out on Wednesday night, and they said to me, you don't see Roxanne Perez burying the NXT women's division, which in my opinion is the best women's division in all of professional wrestling right now. But you know, it's just holy shit, man. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing when it has to come to Roxanne Perez says, yeah, all these women are not on my level. Yeah, that's totally fine. That's totally fine just for you to say that they're not on your level. But if you're saying that they suck and like the women's division is buried, and that's not the way to go. And that's a huge issue with this company and the way that they've built things. I'll give you a couple other examples. Let's go to the men's division. Let's start continuing down this track of stuff that I did not like on this show. Ricochet. What in the fuck are they doing with Ricochet? He's got this obnoxious, I think some people were saying it was like Jadakiss. I don't, it's stupid. And he's trying to suck up to the Hurt Syndicate. The Hurt Syndicate shoots him down. They bully him like a little geek. He runs away. And then he gets into a confrontation and gets clowned by Swerve Strickland, where Swerve says, yeah, you're still the same old Trevor. And he's basically saying, yeah, I'm going to win the Continental Classic, which you couldn't do. Swerve Strickland was the world champion this year. Who cares about the Continental Classic? What are we doing? They're clearly trying to turn Ricochet into an annoying heel. But there's ways to do this. And, you know, saying, it's just, man, I don't understand what they're doing with him. It's just like, you know, being annoying and, you know, coming off as a geek, you can be annoying and still get over as a heel. But you can't, you know, be annoying, be a chicken shit, and get punked out like he did on Wednesday night. You just can't do that. So that's a problem. I didn't like the way that was handled. It's just like, yeah, I don't like that bullying aspect. And then you've got maybe one of the most questionable, well, there's been a lot of questions. The MJF Adam Cole thing is just, it's run its course for about a year. I don't know why they went back to it, but now you got MJF body shaming Adam Cole, which has been a common thing on the internet. Yeah, Adam Cole is a skinnier guy to your average professional wrestler, but he's still really good. But to go to that internet critique to get heat in a feud that nobody cares about anymore, really, that set me back. MJF is, I love Max. I think he is incredibly talented, but he has become a very one-note character. He has literally not changed an ounce in 5 years, with the exception of 2023, where he had the babyface run, better than you, baby, the kangaroo kick, and all that other crazy shit. He's and even then, he was still kind of goofy. Just he wasn't as heelish. He's the same guy he was 5 years ago. And then you resort to those tactics with Adam Cole. Adam Cole's trying to win a ring. He's getting one up, and they're playing the numbers game with MJF, which doesn't make any sense. Like it's such a strange feud. It's like Tony Khan wants to just tie up a loose end because an injury derailed this program. And yeah, that was unfortunate, but nobody cares about this feud anymore. So that's another thing. And then I've made no secrets about this. The main event program and the main event storyline arc with the Death Riders is terrible. It's awful. And I've seen a couple of media people in the wrestling sphere be critical of this as well. All due respect to Bryan Danielson. He's the greatest. He's one of the greatest of all time. He should not have won the world title because that has set off a chain of events that has put AEW's main event scene in the worst state of creative that it has ever been. Because right now, you have Jon Moxley, the world champion, doesn't want to show the world championship. And they finally said, oh yeah, he doesn't think they deserve it. I was like, still, it's the world championship. You shouldn't be holding the world championship in a briefcase. We haven't seen the world championship since October, which I think is ridiculous. I think it's embarrassing for a wrestling company to not show their world championship, whether character or not. It's a stupid idea. So there's that. This Death Riders thing, it ain't working. The Wheeler Yuta stuff is stupid. They're resorting to using cleaning fluid to try and poison people. What is that? You've got Orange Cassidy, Hangman Adam Page, and Jay White, three guys that I really like, but you have given us zero reason to believe that any of these three guys in the main event of your last pay-per-view of the year are going to beat Jon Moxley for the world championship. And then in the main event, a 6-person tag match, Jon Moxley gets a roll-up victory over one of his opponents and then just runs away. What is that? What is that? That's your world champion who challenged these three guys, winning by roll-up. First of all, why is he competing? Second of all, why is he pinning one of his opponents at the pay-per-view? You had two other guys in Pac and Wheeler Yuta in this match that you could have very easily given the fall and had them eat the pin. That didn't happen. And then you've got the three combatants just like, trying to fight off the Death Riders. Nobody cares about this shit. And Hangman Adam Page has significantly lost a ton of steam. He's lost to Jay White a couple of times. That hasn't done anything well. He feuded with Jeff Jarrett. He's just dancing all over the place. And now everybody still loves Hangman, but a lot of that aura and a lot of that, kind of, creepy build that he had in the stuff with Swerve Strickland, a lot of that's gone. What do we do any of this for? To give Bryan Danielson a title reign, and then Bryan Danielson wanted to lose it to Jon Moxley, which I understand. They're good friends. But that whole thing set off a horrible chain of events that has put the men's main event picture in one of the worst states it's ever been. I've been talking about this for months on this show. But if you don't think that any of these things, these critiques, yes, they increased in viewership. Congratulations. They were at 594. They're up to 625. But hey, NXT beat them again. And I'm not sure if AEW is ever going to beat NXT moving forward. Unless they light just a significant creative fire. And I just have no faith in Tony Khan that he's going to change anything. So anyway, that's my thoughts on, AEW overall. We'll see where everything goes. World's End should be interesting. Continental Classics had good wrestling, but it's really just, kind of to get through because they don't really have any compelling stories to tell going into a pay-per-view. But, here we are. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.